Welcome. My name's Susan Young, Mindful Coaching. Today, I wanted to dive a little more deeply into what we've been building on over the last few months, building into a deeper sense of what do the factors of mindfulness, how do they help us? Why are we doing this? So we've talked about that kind of last week. We talked about Heal Thyself based on Rick Hanson's work about a sense of enriching the deeper somatic experiences that are positive. So sometimes we have the idea that we're kind of forcing our will to say, look, that's positive. And actually, what we're invited to do is to allow the experiences that are there that do fill us up, that nurture us, that nourish us. We can call them positive, but then when we say positive, then we have negative. When we refer to nourishing or nurturing and inviting that experience to fill us up and enrich that experience, making it all the way through our bodies, then we can more easily turn our minds from things that tug us away from our natural finding of danger and worry. This is part of if you've had trauma or addiction or mental health issues, this is part of the healing we do. So when I was preparing for today, I was looking up when I was kind of researching and saying, what's this actually, what would be a way that we could bring this forward? And there is that sense of this is all rooted in the work we do. Mindfulness is rooted in Buddhism. And when Jon Kabat-Zinn in the late 70s brought this whole concept of mindfulness over, he used Buddhism, but he adapted it so it's secular. You don't have to believe anything in order to practice mindfulness. We know this to be true. And it's rooted and based in the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path. So the Four Noble Truths is that there is suffering, that it's part of being human. And the cause of suffering is in our minds. And there can be an end to suffering. So there's suffering, there's a cause of suffering, there can be an end. And then the Buddha says, the solution is the Eightfold Path. So then he goes out to lay out the Eightfold Path. And he talks about, is it helpful? Is this kind of information helpful? Okay.
It looks like it's going to be. It's hard to say now.
Yes. There's Michael.
Because I got your email I missed last week. I read about the positive, the focus on the positive.
Hi, Michael. Welcome. We're doing a review, but we're focusing in today, Michael, on the Four Noble Truths. And then we're going to talk about, just at a very high level, why it is we're doing what we're doing. So there's a foundation laid for this that I'm just kind of bringing forth in a reminder way, because we're familiar with this. But the structure of it, when I was kind of researching and preparing and looking at what have we done in the last, since mid-January when we re-engaged, right? So all the work we do around mindfulness is about the Four Noble Truths, which I'll repeat again, which is there is suffering. Being human includes suffering. The cause of suffering is in our minds. That's what we do with mindfulness. We're trying to shift, balloons. We can end suffering, and how we end that is through the Eightfold Path. So that's what the Buddha says. What is the Eightfold? Here comes Sarah. I've already repeated that for you, Michael. Hi, Sarah.
Hi, sorry about the lateness.
That's all right.
I know it off by heart now.
we're reviewing the four noble truths from Buddhism and the Eightfold Path at a very high skim level. And then we're going to dive into the 7 factors of awakening, which are rooted in mindfulness. It gives us a structure, and then we're going to do a meditation that leads us through that. So the Four Noble Truths, there's suffering. Being human includes suffering. There's the cause of suffering is in our minds. We can end the suffering. How, says the Buddha? The Eightfold Path. What is the Eightfold Path? In Buddhism, they talk about, well, there's two kinds of Buddhism, Theravada and Mahayana, but all kinds of Buddhism include that there's a right in the sense of the most focused way, which is a right view, which includes karma, a sense of resolve or restraint in how we commit to the path and how we are as humans. There's right speech, right conduct, right livelihood. So that includes things like no, they don't use human trafficking, but no selling of human beings. This is all from 2,500 years ago, right? Right effort, mindfulness, and meditation. So that's the Eightfold Path. People spend their lives studying this. So I'm not going to even attempt. But what we want to talk about is the ones that we're doing today, which is mindfulness. Within mindfulness, there's 7 factors of awakening. And mindfulness is the first one. So I'm going to use Jill Fronsdale's work, who's a Norwegian-born American Buddhist teacher, trained in Jack Kornfield's work at Insight Meditation. So he talks about what are the factors of awakening. And he talks about mindfulness is our first place of becoming mindful. Mindful of what? As we know, mindful and holding awareness of what our thoughts, emotions, body, and breath is doing. So as we're doing this, keep yourself attentive to your thoughts, your emotions, your breathing, and your body as I'm sharing this information. And I'm hoping I can doing it as simply as we can. This should be accessible to all of us. So then we're going to talk about the 7 factors of awakening. The first one is mindfulness. And what does that mean? It means we investigate reality as it is by learning to sit more and become more conscious of our internal thoughts, emotions, breath, and body, observing. We can investigate what's really going on. We can bring that investigation outside to tune into reality as it is. That's what investigation means. What's actually going on here? Because inside, when I'm reactive, then I'm not tuning into reality as it is. It's me who's agitated. And we know in the 12 steps, they talk about this. As long as I'm struggling or agitated, then I'm not able to engage with people in a way or events. So energy and effort. So mindfulness, investigation into reality as it is, energy and effort. Energy and effort. This is the amount of energy we're willing to put in to our mindfulness practice, to being conscious and aware. And this leads, it's like a spiral. This leads to living more often in joy, happiness. We learn how to allow relaxation and spaciousness in our inner being. And right now in this moment, check into your inner self. A sense of relaxation, allowing this information to just kind of come, trust that it will land in a way that is just right. You don't have to figure it out or get it. This is, people spend lifetime exploring these kinds of things. And then a sense of being willing to concentrate. And we've talked about top-down concentration when we're meditating. I will do this. That could be very helpful. We can also allow it to come from the bottom up, which is a sense of somatic consciousness. And that's what Rick Hansen, that's what we did last week, a sense of enriching our experiences. And then the final one is equanimity, which means really no craving or aversion. So we know that Kabat-Zinn talks about this as pleasant and unpleasant. So I want more pleasant and I don't want unpleasant. So how do we accept the reality as it is externally and internally without trying to change it and make it different? We use these tools in order to allow us to become more present with reality as it is internally and externally. So that's a high-level teaching of the Four Noble Truths, the Eightfold Path, just kind of at a, very superficial level. The part that I wanted to talk about was the 7 factors of awakening.